Welcome, Kayla.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. It's a treat to be with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Where are you joining us from today?
I'm joining you from London, so it's evening already over here.
It's evening. And you have, I was
hmm
just mentioning how desperately we need rain. You have
Yeah.
rain. Has it already begun the rainy season?
Yeah, it has. Well, all year round is the rainy season,
All
so
year round.
happy to send some rain your way.
That would be lovely. We'll stay in that vibration of rain today. Well, thank you for coming to us this evening and across the miles. I'd love to invite you to introduce yourself to the chronic wellness community. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you came to be doing the work that you do in the world.
Sure, yeah. So my name's Kayla, and for about 12 or 13 years, I had suffered with chronic fatigue syndrome, as well as PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Yeah.
And I was very young when I was diagnosed, and nobody really knew what was going on. My doctors didn't have really any good advice to give me because, research is still not very good, but it's getting better. So
Yeah.
back then it was not great either. My parents didn't really know what to do. I didn't know what to do, didn't really understand. So it's just a very kind of confusing and stressful time. And I just kind of trucked on without making really any changes for a long time, just kind of hoping something would change, but not really doing anything and not really getting any help from anybody. I saw a whole bunch of different doctors. I was on more sleep medications than I can count to try to sleep through the night, but just kind of nothing really worked. And then when I was in university, I just had a very, very low point. I'd had a crash, a regression. I could barely get out of bed. I couldn't go to class. I couldn't do work. Couldn't do laundry. Couldn't really do anything. So I just knew something had to change. So I went off all the sleeping pills, and I ended up to get lucky enough to get a referral to a health clinic, which focused a lot on holistic health. So I saw a doctor, a nutritionist, a therapist, and that's where I got my first real introduction to yoga and meditation. So I had done a little bit of yoga before, and I had surprised by how much I had liked it. But this is kind of where I did my first two courses. So I did a mindful yoga course, and I did a mindfulness-based stress reduction course. And I guess over 3 months, I probably did these two courses. And now looking back, it's amazing how huge a change in my life those 3 months made, from, suffering for 12 years to doing 3 months and not being 100% better immediately, but just kind of on the path to wellness, just so much hope. I could plan things with my life. I could plan a graduation. I planned traveling. Like, it just made such a huge difference. And I think a lot of people in the chronic illness community are so tough and so strong, and they want to fight, but they don't necessarily have the tools to do so. So these courses kind of gave me those tools where I could actually do something to help myself. And I also made a lot of diet changes at that time and found I was intolerant to all sorts of different foods. So that was fun. And yeah, probably about 2 years after that, I've been very healthy since then. Haven't had any regressions. I've traveled around the world. I've done triathlons. So
Wow.
yeah, so
What?
it's been great. Yeah, and then I kind of decided I wanted to do something to help other people in this place because I had been lost without any help for so long, and yoga and meditation had helped me so much. So that's why I decided to train to be a yoga teacher. And yeah, now I've started running programs for people with chronic illness.
Oh my gosh, what an inspiring story. You're the first person I've ever interviewed who said, and I found out I had all these food intolerances, and that was fun. Let's start there because that's a part that's not usually very fun for people. They really
Yeah.
start to feel like they have to make really hard choices and that they're being deprived and that it's unfair. And they don't usually light up the way you did. Tell us a little bit about what that food piece was like for you.
It's like, so I started by doing an elimination diet, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's just a very scary time for a lot of people because you get this whole list of foods that you cannot eat,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems like there is nothing that you can eat.
Yes.
um, I think I was lucky. My nutritionist was very lovely, and she had a little booklet she gave me with a list of foods that were good to eat and different recipe suggestions. So right off the bat, that made it a lot easier. And also, I studied psychology and I liked doing experiments, so I kind of liked the elimination diet as well because it felt like a cool little experiment. And it was crazy to see. I remember the day I was testing rye, and I woke up the next morning as if I had run a marathon the day before. My muscles were just so sore. So yeah, it was just really cool to see how much of an effect food could have on you, not just on your belly, but on your mood, on your muscles, on all that sort of things. Um, and then I think just because I was at such a low point, as I said, kind of before I started making those changes, I was willing to do anything. So, and then once you see that you feel better when you make the changes, it's easier to keep making them.
Absolutely. Yes, I remember. I mean, I think we share this excitement for the exploratory piece of the food because you really
Yeah.
can see dramatically the impact that food has.
Hmm.
And I know for some it's a very long, involved process of adding and removing, but for me, I could see pretty much real time how foods affected me. So when
Hmm.
we added the piece into Chronic Wellness Tracker to allow you to monitor your food side by side with your symptoms, I geeked out for months on how I was trying things I'd never tried before just to see
Yeah.
what happened, and was kind of amazed at what brought about increased vitality, increased energy. Certain foods really seem to stimulate creativity. Certain foods
Yeah.
seem to really support sleep, which is also, we share that challenge as
Hmm.
well. Um, but yeah, that's exciting. That a good reminder for people that embarking on the elimination component and the food component doesn't have to feel scary, and it doesn't have to feel like you're being deprived. It really can be a bit of an adventure, especially as you begin to find the foods that you feel really great eating. What a phenomenal shift that can be.
Yeah, and I think even if you're not as lucky with a nutritionist, there's so many blogs now that have so many recipes and ideas for people with different intolerances. So you can definitely find really delicious food when you're doing the elimination or once you do eliminate.
Oh yeah, such a difference
It's
just in the last 10 years. So many more
yeah,
resources. It's great.
yeah.
So in terms of mindfulness, how do you define mindfulness? And in those early days when you were seeing that mindfulness practice and those shifts created a shift for you with your symptoms, what did that look like and what did that mean?
Hmm. Um, I think it's the first time that I felt it was okay to be unwell. It was okay to be tired. It was okay to be in pain. Just let it be. I think I was so focused before on feeling bad about it, wanting it to go away, feeling guilty about not being able to do things, or frustrated about not being able to do things, and trying to hide it from friends and that sort of thing. I'd spent so much time just not wanting the illness to be there. And then, mindfulness was the first time. I still remember doing the body scan for the first time, and the teacher saying, notice if there's any discomfort. And then I was expecting her to say, and try to imagine it going away or something. And then she just said, and let it be there. And just kind of that one sentence just changed my whole perspective.
Yeah, you can feel it just saying it now, just the
Yeah.
granting your cells permission to be exactly where they are, granting your pain level permission to be right where it is, not trying to just sweep it away all the time. That's
Yeah.
a scary point too. I remember a very similar moment of not trying to escape the pain and actually being present for it and realizing that there pretty much wasn't a cell in my body that wasn't screaming at me in some way. How did
Yeah.
you handle those rough first times where you realize there's a lot of pain in your body and you're just going to have to find a way to be okay with it?
Yeah, and for me, the bigger thing was fatigue. And I mean, part of it, I mean, as you said, like I realized how much fatigue there
Fatigue.
was.
Yes. How exhausted
Like,
your cells were.
yeah, how
Yeah.
exhausted I am. And yeah, just pain as well, just noticing it and then wondering, was that always there? Or
Yeah.
well, how am I noticing it so much now? So yeah, it was definitely scary, but I think it kind of opened up this window into like how much more can I learn about myself and my body.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm.
And that fatigue piece, I mean, the pain too, but the overriding of fatigue to try to feel normal or be normal or look normal has such
Hmm.
a huge impact on our adrenals, on our thyroid, on our serotonin levels, our endocrine system. So just allowing yourself to be present for that fatigue is huge. So do you attribute the shifts to that ability to just be at peace with what was, or what other components helped you kind of move through and see those symptoms actually begin to lessen?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest piece that set everything else in motion was just, yeah, it was a mental shift for sure of letting the symptoms be where they were at the time. And that kind of, I think, allows you to work with the body and with the symptoms instead of always being fighting, which is exhausting in itself.
Right.
So I think kind of that change and doing, the mindfulness and the yoga and all the nutrition stuff just lets you see how many different components going into your body and how much different things can affect you. So it really changed my perspective on what illness was, particularly chronic illness, and how it works. Which kind of opened me up to all these different ways that I could try healing, and a bunch of small changes that I could make. Just really gave me hope that I could get better, because I think, before that, and for a lot of people, it's kind of they try something and then it works a bit, but then they stop doing it or something else bad happens and they go back to square one.
Yeah,
And then it's so easy to feel hopeless if you get caught in that cycle.
absolutely. There's also a perception that, and I know I had this,
Mm-hmm.
that when you're really sick, you can't move your body, that you can't do movement, that yoga is for life, healthy, active people, and it's not for me because I'm sick. I remember one of my first chronic wellness tools interviews on movement was with Natalie Garay, who does Pilates with people with chronic illness. And I canceled a few sessions with her, even though she works
Mm-hmm.
remotely. She could work right
Yeah.
there in your home via Skype.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of got me on the phone and said, "Why are you canceling?" And I said, "Well, I have to because I can't get out of bed." And she said, "Well, why don't we do it right there?" And it started to bend my own sense of limitation that, oh, I have this story that because I can't put on the cute yoga pants and get down to the studio like everybody else, that I can't move my body. And yet, claiming the tiniest shifts of stretching in bed, or even just opening the spine and laying in your bed from a place of opening the rib cage and breathing. All of these were new to me, and it actually took someone saying, "Don't stay stuck in the story that you can't move." How do you help people with chronic illness start to get back moving? Because
Back
it makes
moving.
such a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I do remotely as well, and my online course, which is running again in a few weeks, is kind of a go at your own pace. So if you are having a bad day, you can do the video whenever you feel better. But I am glad you brought it up, because I've been really into recently visualizing doing yoga. So you can
Yes.
actually lie in bed and listen to a video, or if you feel comfortable, to just visualizing on your own as well, and not moving at all, but really imagining what it would feel like to be moving. And they've done studies on it, and ranging anywhere from 20 to 70%. Sorry, what am I saying? This sentence. Your muscles felt the benefit anywhere from 20 to 70% as much as actually doing it.
Yeah.
So that's incredible. From just lying in bed and using your mind, you could, have these muscle benefits and that you would get from actually doing the yoga. So I think that's really
It's
crazy.
it's it's really huge, and it's something we've known in the sense of like high performance athletes for a long time, that they've used
Yeah.
visualization to support excelling, and yet we haven't applied it to just any movement. To, if you can't do
Mm-hmm.
it today, visualize. I remember the story of a surfer who had broken his back, and before he could even begin physical therapy, and it was in the very beginning phases, he said he still kept his routine of surfing every day. Only he
Mm-hmm.
did it in his mind, and that was
Yeah.
the only way he could do it. But he did make it back out to the waves.
Mm-hmm.
So, in terms of this combination of mindfulness and food and movement and serving the chronic illness community, what do your daily routines look like to help you stay in this kind of forward momentum with your life?
Mm-hmm. So I do usually 10 minutes of meditating and half hour of yoga each day. And then I will try and throw in a longer practice every now and then, but consistency is actually much better than just doing a 1 hour session a week, which is I think what a lot of people do. So if you can do it 3 times a week but only 20 minutes each, and you can do that consistently, that's super helpful. So yeah, so each day I do 10 minutes of meditating and 30 minutes of yoga. And then I try to just cook as much as I can, which is very hard in London because there's a lot of very delicious food options around. But I just try to make each choice a healthy choice. And I think what's really important and what I can struggle with is that when I do make a bad choice, not to get down on myself for it. Yeah. Just, to allow that bad choice to have been made and move on and make the next choice a good choice.
Absolutely. Making the next choice a good choice. So tell us a little bit about how people can learn more about your work.
So I've got a website, aromayoga.com. So I keep a blog there, which is some general musings about chronic illness and then specifically on how yoga can help as well. And I've got a few free videos on YouTube. You can also find them on my website. And then I've got this online course coming up, it lasts for 6 weeks. You get 6 1-hour videos as well as a few extra shorter practice videos to do in between. And you get unlimited email and Skype support from me during that if you're struggling or having questions. And that you can also find on my website at aromayoga.com/online-course.
Awesome. Well, we will include those links below for sure. I strongly encourage you to go find Kayla and get on her list and be in her positive energy. I want to thank you so much for coming. But before we wrap up, I just want to ask you, if someone has found their way to this interview and they're really feeling stuck, if there were just one thing that they could do to begin to invite these kinds of shifts into their life, what is that one thing you would recommend that they do?
It's a good question and a tough question. I mean, I think if you can start with 5 or 10 minutes of meditating a day, which could be just lying in bed breathing, and as we said, just, noticing what's going on in your body without feeling bad about it or trying to change it, and without trying to move or anything like that, and just kind of taking the first step to build that awareness. And then I think from there, it's easier to know what needs to be done or what you can do.
You're an awareness champion, just like me. I love it. Thank you so much for bringing your expertise and your light. You've literally had this golden ray of light shining around the camera next to you. It's stunning. Yeah, it's so beautiful to be a part of your day and see the beautiful rainbows around you, and it just represents your energy so beautifully. So thank you again for joining us, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks for everyone who joined us for the Shift series, and do click through and find Kayla online. All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.